Hello, welcome to Tap That MTG, the show where we tell you everything we know about Magic the Gathering. It's fun to talk about. But, oh, sorry. That's start over.
Start again.
Hello, welcome to Tap That MTG, the show where we tell you everything we know about Magic the Gathering. That's probably wrong, but fun to talk about. I'm Shauna.
I'm Leslie.
And today we are bringing you another deep dive into the new Commander decks from the new set.
Baldur's Gate, Commander Legends,
Baldur's Gate.
Battle
Oh
for
my
Baldur's
gosh.
Gate.
Wow. I need more coffee. We are bringing you another one of those deep dives that we love to do. So we are going to go through the deck, talk about the cards in them, how the deck is meant to be played. And then if you stick around long enough, we're going to tell you a little bit about some tweaks that you might want to add. And Leslie's going to tell us about this deck, what it is, and what is it meant to do, Leslie?
Well, we have another dragon deck, and it is a fun dragon deck. Its commander is Furkrug, the Cunning Instigator. So he's an Izzet dragon. For 3 and a blue and a red, he's a 3/3. He has flying and haste, so he comes out and he's ready to go rare in right away. And whenever one or more dragons you control attacks an opponent, you goad target creature that player controls. So in this deck, we're going to be doing some attack everybody else, please stuff. Also, whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this turn, you put a 1/1 counter on this dude. So if that creature that you goaded does combat damage, your commander just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and he has flying, so you might be killing people with commander damage. Dragons, they're just powerful. What are the guts of this deck, Shauna?
Dragons. All right, so we've got a mana curve that is fairly curvy, except we do have lots of stuff on the high end for whatever reason. So we'll find out.
Dragons.
We've got dragons. Yeah. Well, we've got 4 cards at 1 mana cost, 10 at 2, 13 at 3, another 13 at 4, and 5 at 5. And then we've got 17 at 6 and up. Yeah. Oh, I guess 1 is the X cost. So, and then as far as the color breakdown, we have 26 red cards, 19 blue, 15 colorless, lots of artifacts here, and only 2 multicolor. Mm-hmm. And then if we look at the breakdown as far as card types goes, we have 25 creatures, 10 sorceries or instances, whatever, and 10 enchantments, 11 artifacts, which does not include the 4 artifact creatures that are in here, so 15 total artifacts, and 2 planeswalkers in this deck, which is nice because I like planeswalkers. Yes. Then Leslie's going to tell us about the formula that we use when we do these run-throughs of these decks.
Yes, we have a little formula that we like to use that gives you a middle of the grade commander deck. Wizards typically follows this formula when or at least their decks fit into this formula when you analyze them. Of course, 1 commander, we think that you should have about 15 ramp, 15 removal, 13 card draw, 12 in the high impact, 10 that are other cards to support your deck and just round it out, and around 34 lands. Of course, this is not the only formula that you can use, but it's a formula to get you started and a good thing to evaluate with if you're wondering why you can't seem to get enough cards in your hand. You might not have enough card draw. So just take a look at how many you have, basically. So that's what we're going to use to evaluate this deck and see how it fares. The first section is mana ramp, and our deck calls for 15. And our formula calls for 15. Oh my God, we both need coffee this morning. Yeah, exactly. And the deck has 14. What's our first card in that, Shauna?
The first one is called Loot Dispute. It's an enchantment that's for 3 and a red. When it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative and create a treasure token. And whenever you attack the player who has the initiative, you create the treasure token. So people are going to want to steal the initiative from you. I'll explain that in a second. It has loud ruckus, which is a really fun keywords there. So whenever you complete a dungeon, you get to create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. So so taking the initiative means that you get to go into this new dungeon called Undercity? No.
Yeah.
Did I get it right? Undercity?
Yes.
It's a new dungeon that just came out with this set. And going through that dungeon, you get to go through the dungeon on every upkeep, go another level in the dungeon. And whenever you complete that dungeon, you get to make a 5/5 red dragon, which is nothing to shake a stick at.
Yep. Baloth Baratil Entertainer for 5. He's a 2/5. Creatures your opponents control with power less than this dude's power are goaded. So remember that, because ultimately right now he's a 2/5. So only the little 1 power things are going to be goaded. However, we are going to maybe want to target him with some of our equipment to make him bigger. Whenever a goaded attacking or blocking creature dies, you get to create a treasure token. And this one has choose a background. So if you decide to use this as your commander in any deck or this one, you can put a background with it that essentially is counted as a second commander. There's lots of little backgrounds out there, so you can take a search and make it how you want it.
Nice. Then we have a curse. These are the fun curses that have been around for a little bit. The Curse of Opulence, in this case, it is you pay red, and it's an aura that you put onto a player. And whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a colorless artifact token named Gold. It has sacrifice this artifact and add 1 mana, so it works like treasure. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. So this is going to make people want to attack that player lots and lots. So everybody can get treasure. Everyone get treasure.
Yep. And Shiny Impetus for 3. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. However, whenever enchanted creature attacks, you get to create a treasure token on top of that. So again, dragons like treasures. You goad something, and every time they have to attack with it, and you get a treasure every time.
Then we've got some of our artifacts here that are mana rocks, as they are called. We have the Talisman of Creativity. This is a really good card that people love to have. It is an artifact, in this case, that can tap for the colorless, or you can tap it for the blue or the red and deals 1 damage to you, but you've got your blue and red from it, which is nice. And with also the Soul Ring, of course, that everybody loves to have for sure. And it is the usual 2 mana that you want.
Another couple mana rocks that we like in this deck are Izzet Signet and Hedron Archive. So Izzet Signet, you can pay 1 and tap for 2. So essentially it taps for 1 because you have to pay something to tap it for those 2 colors. But I usually just like set a little mana aside or whatever thing and just put them together, so then I know it taps for those 2. Hedron Archive for 4, it taps for 2 colorless, or you can pay 2 and sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. So it's some card draw in there as well.
And then again, like these decks are great ways to get some of these hard to find artifacts that everybody loves to have for their commander decks. This one, Felwar Stone, that taps for mana of any color that your opponents can have, and the Wayfarer's Bauble, which is an artifact that you can pay 2 and sacrifice it and go searching for a basic land that you need. So awesome.
Mind Stone and Arcane Signet. Mind Stone taps for colorless, and you can also sacrifice it to draw a card, and then Arcane Signet just taps for your commander's colors.
2 more relatively hard to find, Burnished Heart and Solemn Simulacrum. The Burnished Heart lets you sacrifice it and go searching for 2 basic lands and put them on the battlefield tapped. And the Solemn Simulacrum, when it enters the battlefield, you can search for a basic land. And then when it dies, you get to draw a card. So really great card for this.
Yeah. And then we move on to our next section, which is our favorite, almost our favorite section, is removal. Our formula calls for 15. The deck has 14, so we're right on par there. The first one really removes people from combat. So propaganda for 3. It's an enchantment. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that is attacking you. So this is gonna, there's a few cards that are like, every creature attacks, and that could be you. So this is going to stop them from attacking you, hopefully.
Yep. It's really annoying.
It is.
The Akroan War, it's for 3 and a red. Saga that says this first level. So when it enters the battlefield, you get to do this after your draw step. You add a counter to it. And then after you finish it, you get rid of it. So the first time you do that, it's going to gain control of a target creature as long as you have this on the battlefield. And then 2 is until your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able. So they could possibly be attacking you. But again, you've got propaganda too, maybe, hopefully. And then it says each tapped creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. So you're going to remove lots of their stuff because they had to attack with it. So it's tapped. Woohoo!
And just remember, on the turn that it's 2, you maybe don't want to attack yourself because this happens on your upkeep on the on the 3rd turn. So if you've attacked and your creatures are tapped, it's going to do your creatures as well. So Dissipation Field for 4 is an enchantment, and whenever a permanent deals damage to you, return it to its owner's hand. So again, nothing like stopping them from attacking you.
So rude. Chaos Warp. This card drives me crazy. It's for 2 and a red. It's an instant that says the owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card to their library. If it's a permanent card, they put it on the battlefield. So it's a little bit of a risk. You want to make sure you're removing something that's worth removing because you could potentially get back something worse.
Yeah. Risky. Domineering Will is 4 mana cost instant. Target player gains control of up to 3 target non-attacking creatures until the end of turn. Untap those creatures. They block this turn if able. So either you can give a friend some blockers or you can give yourself some blockers. Hopefully things that are going to die.
Yeah. Jeez. Then we've got Chain Reaction for 2 and a red, 2 red. It's a sorcery that deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. Ouch.
Board wipe. Sometimes you just need it. Blasphemous Act for 9 is a sorcery. It does cost 1 less for each creature on the battlefield, so it's likely going to be a lot less. It does 13 damage to each creature. So again, another board wipe that's fairly cheap depending on what is happening on the battlefield.
Yeah. Curse of the Swine for X and 2 blue. It's a little sorcery that says exile X target creatures, and for each creature exiled this way, its controller creates a 2/2 green boar creature token. Here, everybody's a pig.
Funny. God. Aether Gale for 5. It's a sorcery. Return 6 target non-land permanents to their owner's hand. Blue doing what blue likes to do.
Really nice. Steel Hellkite for 6. This is a artifact creature. Here's a dragon. It has flying, and it's a 5/5. And you pay 2, and it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Leslie likes to make this thing. I'm sure she's played this one several times on me.
I love
it. And then X is destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate only once.
Yeah.
Ugh. Ouch. Not very nice.
Yep. Semi-board wipe.
Yep.
Thunder Dragon. Thundercats. Oh my god, I just aged myself. So for 5, you get a 5/5 for 7. It's flying. It enters the battlefield. It deals 3 damage to each creature without flying. So I think everything that you have is flying for the most part. So you're just going to hurt all of their stuff, which is great.
Kill all their pigs.
Yeah.
Ryusi the Falling Star. This is a 5/5. Dragon Spirit for 6. Flying. When it dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So they're not gonna wanna.
No.
And then we get to our two planeswalkers. Our
Yeah.
first one is Will Kenrith. For 6, he's a 4 loyalty planeswalker. His +2 ability is until your next turn, up to 2 target creatures each have a base power and toughness of 0-3 and lose all abilities. So you can like slow them down and make sure that their creatures aren't worth anything. For his -2, target player draws 2 cards, and until your next turn, instant sorceries and planeswalker spells that player cast costs 2 less to cast. So you're going to target yourself probably with this one and make your stuff cheaper. And then his -8 ability is target player gets an emblem, which is a nice little thing that stays on the battlefield for the rest of the game. Nobody can get rid of emblems. Whenever you cast an instant or a sorcery, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So he's a nice little copy spell. You know, anytime we get into those decks where you're copying spells, I never think of Will.
Yeah, I
And
never do either.
like even the maestros, when we did the maestros, I don't know why we didn't suggest Will, but he would be a good one for that deck as well.
Yeah.
Anyways, he has partner with Rowan Kenrith. So partner means when he comes out, you get to go search for her, and you can also use him as a commander. So
And then speaking of her, Rowan, the sister of Will, she is 4 and 2 red, 4 loyalty planeswalker. And her +2 is during target player's next turn, each creature that player controls attacks if able. So there's the goading. They could attack you. Its -2 is that it deals 3 damage to each tapped creature target player controls. So they might not want to attack you because you'll do a -2 and kill it. And then her -8 is target player gets an emblem with whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, you get to copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So you could be copying her -2 maybe, or whatever. And of course, partnering with Will, and she can be your commander as well. So there you go.
yep. And our next section is card draws and tutors. Our formula calls for 13. The deck only has about 6. We did have a couple in the mana generators that also drew cards, but still that's pretty on the light side for a deck that has spells and is going to cast things on a regular. But Clan Crafter is one of those for 2. It's a legendary enchantment. It's a background, which we'll get to in a second. Commander creatures you own have pay 2, sacrifice an artifact, put a 1/1 counter on this creature, then draw a card. There are a number of artifacts in this deck. I'm not sure that there's a ton that this is going to be worth it, but it is card draw. So that's why it's in this section. And backgrounds are basically if you have a commander that says choose a background, you can use this as well. It sits there in the command zone just like another commander. It gives you another color in the color identity.
Yeah. We've got another one of those curses that people like to play with. This one is the Curse of Verbosity. For 2 and a blue, you enchant a player, and whenever enchanted player is attacked, you draw a card. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. So it's a really good little political stuff going on there.
Yeah, you just encourage people to attack each other, not you.
Yeah,
Psychic Impotence is another goad one for 3. Enchant creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. And then whenever that creature attacks, you get to scry 2. So get some knowledge in there, which is great.
Then we have Dragon's Horde, which is awesome to have in a dragon deck. It's an artifact for 3. Whenever a dragon enters battlefield under your control, you put a gold counter on Dragon's Horde. And you can remove a gold counter you tap it and remove a gold counter from Dragon's Horde and draw a card. Or you can use it as a mana rock. Nice.
Yeah. 2 things. Midnight Clock for 3 is a tap for blue, or you can pay 3 and put an hour counter on it. At the beginning of each upkeep, you also put an hour counter on Midnight Clock. When the 12th hour counter is put on Midnight Clock, you shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, then draw 7 cards and exile Midnight Clock. So that's a great way to get all of your stuff that's been put into your graveyard back into your deck, so you can potentially use it again and you fill up your hand with 7 cards. So
Nice. Then we have Compulsive Research. It is a sorcery for 2 and a blue. Target player draws 3 cards. Then that player discards 2 cards unless they discard a land card.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be careful with that one.
Yep. Next section, high impact cards. This is the favorite section we have. Now remember, when we were talking in removal, there was also some really high impact cards in there. So hopefully all your cards can eventually be high impact, but you do need the utility cards in there as well. Our formula calls for around 12. This deck has, in our opinion, 16. So Spectacular Showdown is the very first one that we'll talk about. For 2, it's a sorcery. You get to put a double strike counter on target creature, then goad each creature that had a double strike counter put on it this way. So, yeah, basically the first turn you play it, you're only going to have 1, but it's goaded, so it can't attack you the next turn. And then Overload for 4 and 3 red, you can cast a spell for its overload cost. If you do, change target to each. So I recommend maybe holding on to this and do each and just have everyone attack everybody else with double strike counters and everyone dies. And yeah. It's great. Like, look at her. She's reveling. That's me sitting right there in the middle of that card.
It looks just like her. Totally looks just like her. Oh, gosh. Then we have Astral Dragon. It's a 4/4 for 6 and 2 blue that has flying, of course, and it has Project Image. So when it enters the battlefield, you create 2 tokens that are copies of target non-creature permanent, except they're 3/3 dragon creatures in addition to their other types, and they have flying. So you're getting a bunch of creatures for the 8 mana. Nice.
Angler Turtle. For 5 and 2 blue is a 5/7. It has hexproof, and creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able. So this is one of those cards that doesn't necessarily protect you. They could attack you, but it forces everyone to attack. But you don't have to attack. So
yeah.
You can keep
Death Kiss for 5 and a red. It's a 5/5. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks one of your opponents, you get to double its power until end of turn. So it's a little incentive for them to, attack them instead of me. And you can pay X, X, and red, where monstrosity X, if this creature isn't monstrous, you put X 1/1 counters on it and it becomes monstrous. When it becomes monstrous, you goad up to X target creatures your opponents control. So this will help you with them not attacking you. It's going to make everybody attack everybody else. Woohoo!
Disrupt Decorum for 4 is a sorcery. Goad all creatures you don't control. Just goad them. Just make them attack, not you.
Terrible. A Niv-Mizzet Perun for 3 blue and 3 red. This is the legendary dragon wizard that everybody loves. 5/5. It can't be countered. And whenever you draw a card, it deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery, you draw a card. So here's some good card draw for you too. And doing damage. Yeah. And any deck that guy's in, he's good.
Yeah. Warmonger Hellkite for 6 is a flying 5/5 dragon. All creatures attack each combat if able, and you can pay 2, and attacking creatures get +1/+0 until the end of turn. So a little incentive if they decide to attack not you. You can say, you know what? I'm just going to make them bigger for you if you like. If you take care of those other people for me.
Exactly. Territorial Hellkite, big, huge dragon, 6/5 for 4, flying in haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random that he didn't attack during your last combat, and it attacks that player if able. If you can't choose an opponent this way, you have to tap it. So, yeah, it's just mean. Damn dragons.
Damn dragons. Well, this isn't a dragon. This is an ogre warrior. Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs for 5 is a 5/4. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, if you're the defending player, you get to create a 3/3 red ogre creature token unless that creature's controller pays 3. So they attack you, you get a little ogre. That might be an incentive not to attack you, hopefully, when you're making everybody attack each turn if able.
Yeah, because you get that for each creature, right? that they
Yeah,
attack you with?
whenever
Yeah.
a creature an opponent controls attacks. So you're just going to make that many, or they have to pay 3 for each of those creatures
To
to
stop you from
not.
doing that. Yeah.
So they're not going to want to attack you with their
Ooh.
2/2s or their 1/1s or their 3/3s,
You.
because you're just going to create little ogres that you can block with.
Crazy. Dracuseth, Maw of Flames, a 7/7 for 4 and 3 red. This is a beautiful dragon that says whenever it attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets.
Yeah.
Lots of damage happening with this guy.
Yeah. So he kind of fits in the removal section, but oh
Yeah.
my gosh, he's a flying 7/7, so he's super high impact. Chaos Dragon, we like this one. It's chaotic. 3 for 4/4. It's flying in haste. Chaos Dragon attacks each combat if able, so you must attack with him. You can't just save him. But at the beginning of combat on your turn, each player rolls a d20. If one or more opponents has the highest results, Chaos Dragon can't attack those players or planeswalkers they control this combat. So it's basically saying, hey everyone, roll a d20. Whoever gets the highest doesn't get attacked this turn, but sorry, I can't attack Shauna. She rolled the highest. So now I have to attack you.
It's the politicalness of this card. And then we have Brash Taunter. This card drives me crazy. So annoying. It is a little indestructible 1/1 for 5. You would think he wouldn't be that much of a big deal, but because he's indestructible, whenever he's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent. And you can pay 2 in a red and tap this guy, and he fights another target creature. So it's really annoying because they do this to your biggest creature, like your 7/7 or whatever, fights it, doesn't die, but your card deals 7 damage to it. So then they're dealing 7 damage to your face. So it's extremely annoying. I hate this guy. But it's great for this deck because you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to block with this and block your 10/10 and deal 10 damage to your face.
Yep.
Gosh.
So well, and it says it's dealt damage. It deals that much damage to target opponent.
Yeah.
So you don't have to fight one of theirs if all they have is 2/2s or 3/3s. If you want to fight your 8/8 whale that's coming up here, then you can do that and then direct that to somebody else.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
can
fight your own whale.
You fight your own things if they're the biggest thing on the battlefield.
Oh my God. So annoying.
It's just the way I think. Key Guide, the Tide Star. For 6 is a 5/5. It has flying, and when he dies, you gain control of target creature. So they're not going to want him to die because you get to target something and steal it from someone.
Meanwhile, he's doing tons of damage.
Yeah.
Then we have our whale. Let's was just talking about 5 and the 2 blue, 8/8, big old whale. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent creates a little 1/1 red pirate that says this creature can't block, and creatures you control attack each combat if able. Oops. Spells your opponent is cast that target the whale cost 3 more to cast. So they get a little pirate and they have to attack.
Makes them attack. Yeah, but it can't block, so they can't just kill it. I mean, they can attack with it, and then it might die to something or else. They'll probably be doing some kind of talking or across the table trying to, deal with you at this point. Yeah. Agitator Ant for 3 is a 2/2 at the beginning of your end step. Each player may put 2 1/1 counters on a creature they control and goad each creature that had a counter on it this way. This is a great card, and people almost always fall for it. So basically they're going to make their thing bigger, which they're going to want to do. And, it's just like, but you just can't attack me with it. So have something nice. Just don't attack me.
Oh my gosh. Then we have Avatar of Slaughter for 6 and 2 red and 8/8. All creatures have double strike and attack each turn if able. Chaos ensues.
Hopefully you have propaganda.
You've done all this stuff that you've made all their creatures have little 1/1 counters on them from the ant or something like that, and they can't attack you. There's ways you can protect yourself.
It's risky, but hopefully.
Yep.
And then we move on to our other cards on theme. other cards that support your overall theme of your deck, as well as other win conditions, those types of things. Maybe they're a little conditional. Our formula calls for 10. Our deck has 11 in our opinion. And the first one is actually a class. So Artificer class for 2, you put it on the battlefield, and it says the first artifact spell you cast each turn costs 1 less to cast. So when I think we're getting to the artifacts, of course, all of those mana rocks, they would cost 1 less to cast as well. So if they only cost 1, then they're free if you have this out. But you can level this up. So if you pay 2, now it's level 2. So you get the first ability as well as the second ability, which is when this class becomes level 2, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Put that card on into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your library in random order. So you're just going to go through your deck, grab an artifact, and you get to put that into your hand. When it becomes level 3, which is going to cost you 6, at the beginning of your end step, create a token that's a copy of target artifact you control. So you're going to go get that artifact you really, really want, and then you're just going to keep creating copies of it at the beginning of your end step, each end step, while this is on the battlefield. So nice little thing. At this point, I'm not sure what I would choose for my
Things that you're copying.
Yeah, for my copy. I'm just kind of
Well, your soul ring and stuff, or your, I don't know. There's some weapons and stuff.
yeah, we haven't gotten to them yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was wondering if Everflowing Chalice was in here or something like that, because that would have been a good one, but it's not.
Yeah.
Anyways,
A mocking doppelganger for 3 and a blue. It is a shapeshifter that has flash, and you may have the doppelganger enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature an opponent controls, except it has other creatures with the same name as this creature are goaded. So you're gonna do some shenanigans with that.
Yeah. So now you've goaded something that you've copied.
Yeah.
Bothersome Quasit for 3. It's a 3/2. It has menace, and it says goad creatures your opponents control. Goaded creatures your opponents control can't block. So if they've decided that they're going to block with them for a while until it's their turn because you've goaded all creatures, they can't now. And whenever you cast non-creature spells, goad target creature an opponent controls. So all your instants or sorceries.
Then you've got the Bloodthirsty Blade. It's for 2. It's an equipment that you're going to put on someone else's creature because it's equipped creature gets +2/+0 and is goaded. And you can pay 1 and attach it to target creature and opponent controls. That's at its equipped cost. So yeah, you're going to be using that to goad their stuff to attack somebody else. Go over there. Don't want to touch you. Yeah.
And in fact, this is probably the cards that you're going to want to get with your other little class card, because then if you keep making copies of that, then you can keep just putting them on things to goad things.
Yeah, totally. There you
Reigns of Power for 4 is an instant. Untap all creatures you control and all creatures target opponent controls. You and that opponent each gain control of all creatures the other controls until the end of turn. Those creatures gain haste until the end of turn. So basically, crazy things happen. You're going to have to know what's on the battlefield to know whether this is good.
Yeah.
Take some. That's why it's in conditional. It's crazy, but gosh, this could go wrong for you too. So be careful.
Dorat the Perfect Pet. This is a good little dragon, a fairy dragon. Leslie loves this guy. It's a little for blue and a red. The little guy, 1/1, but has flying and haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a 1/1 counter on it. So this gets big quickly in a blue and red deck. Definitely.
Yeah. Sprite Dragon to the rescue.
Yeah.
And then we have Stuffy Doll for 5. It's a 0/1. It's got indestructible. As Stuffy Doll enters the battlefield, you get to choose. Exactly. You get to choose a player. Whenever Stuffy Doll is dealt damage, he deals that much damage to chosen player. And you can tap him and Stuffy Doll deals 1 damage to itself if you want. Or you can just sit there and use it as a blocker that makes them not want to attack you, because anything to make them not want to attack you is good.
Yeah. So terrible. Vengeful Ancestor. This is a spirit dragon, 3/4 fire for 2 and 2 red. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you goad a target creature. And whenever a goaded creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to its controller. Oh, gosh. Terrible.
Goblin Spy Master for 3. It's a 2/1. It's got first strike, and at the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player creates a 1/1 goblin creature token with creatures you control attack each combat if able. So if they didn't have
Pirate.
that other pirate that makes them attack each combat if able, that's okay. We'll give them a goblin at the beginning of their end step. So even if they get rid of it, they get another one.
Oh gosh. The Geode Rager, it's a 4/3 first strike for 4 and 2 red that has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, goad each creature target player controls.
Each creature. That's great.
Yep.
And then our last one is Sly Instigator for 3. He's a 2/4, and you can pay a blue and tap him until your next turn. Target creature and opponent controls can't be blocked. Goad that creature. So make their big thing really unblockable and make them attack with it. Very clever.
Oh my gosh. So this deck, as far as the lands go, it has 38, and we like to see around 34. So that might be where you want to take a look at changing some cards around, getting rid of some of those lands, adding some stuff. And that brings us to the tweaks of these things that you might want to add to this deck. So the first one we have is an enchantment that's kind of nasty looking. It's a collective restraint for 3 and a blue. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays X for each creature attacking you, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control.
Mm-hmm.
So probably 2. They have to pay 2 to, well, it is 2, to attack you with their creatures. So that's a little bit of a protection from everything attacking everywhere.
Yeah, it's just a little bit more expensive propaganda, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah. Komenu Battle Armor for 3. It's a 2/2. This is another artifact that you could put in there, which will help you out. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has menace. Whenever it enters the battlefield or equipped creature deals combat damage. Sorry. Battle armor or equipped creature does combat damage to a player, goad each creature that player controls, and it has reconfigure. So this can come in as a creature, or you can reconfigure and attach it to a creature, and then that creature gets these benefits as well. So that's kind of like a nice little versatility. Use it for either or. If it's an equipment and it's on something and that creature dies, then you still get to keep it. So if it's a creature and it dies, then you don't get to keep it.
Right. Then we have Life of the Party. This is an elemental, a 0/1 elemental that's for 3 and a red, but it has first strike, trample, and haste. And whenever Life of the Party attacks, it gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So this could be pretty big. When Life of the Party enters the battlefield, if it's not a token, each opponent creates a token that's a copy of it. But those tokens are goaded for the rest of the game. So they get to have those tokens, but they have to attack other people with them.
And I love that this is goaded for the rest of the game, because most time goaded is just till the end of your next turn. So you have to re-goad them if you need, but this is like ongoing. So that's why we thought that would be good. Of course, Goldspan Dragon. Why do you not want a dragon that gives you treasure tokens, that makes it easier for you to cast your other dragons? So this would be a great addition for 5. It's a 4/4. It's got flying and haste. And whenever it attacks or becomes a target of a spell, you get to create a treasure token. And then treasures you control sacrifice, and you get to add 2 mana of any card instead of 1. So there was a bunch of stuff that helped you create treasures before. This makes them even more value if you put it in.
Definitely. Then another dragon that we thought would be great for this deck is Ganix, the Astral Hunter. It's a 3/4 for 4 and a red. Whenever it or another dragon enters a battlefield under your control, you create a treasure. So there's that benefit of the treasures again, and you can choose a background. So it might help with that whole background thing as well if you want to use backgrounds.
Yeah, if you use it as your commander, Ancient Copper Dragon. I believe this one is new as well for this set. It's 6. It's a 6/5. Of course, Flying Dragon. Whenever Ancient Copper Dragon deals combat damage to a player, you get to roll a d20, and then you create a number of treasure tokens equal to that result. So again, helping you get some treasures, helping you be able to cast your dragons.
Yeah. Then we've got the Champion's Helm for 3. It's a artifact equipment that says equipped creature gets +2/+2, and as long as the equipped creature is legendary, it has hexproof. So it's a little bit of protection. Its equipped cost is only 1. A little bit of protection for your commander there so that you can keep him safe and sound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Black Blade Reforged we thought would be good for this. Again, there's some artifact stuff, but there's not a lot of artifacts. So if you add this one in, your creature gets +1/+1 for each land. Oh, you moved it on me.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Okay. Equip creature. If you equip it to a legendary creature, it only costs 3. And if you equip it to a regular creature. So you're going to attach this hopefully to a legendary creature, one of your dragons. There's lots of legendary dragons in there. But get some extra benefit and have a really big beefy dragon.
Yeah. Then some blue cards that you might want to add to this: Archmage Ascension for 2 and a blue. It's an enchantment that says beginning of each end step, if you drew 2 or more cards this turn, you may put a quest counter on this guy as long as the Archmage has 6 or more quest counters on it. If you would draw a card, you may instead search your library for a card and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. So hopefully you've got lots of card draw going on and buffing this up. And you could draw searching, or you could do some searching, which is nice. Go get those cards you need. Sweet.
And another decent tutor that you could put in this is Long-Term Plans. Not a super expensive card. It only costs 3 to play as well. It's an instant. Search your library for a card. You do have to shuffle your library and put it third from the top, so you do have to wait. It'll come in a minute, as the flavor text says. But nothing wrong with adding some tutors so that you can get those cards. Remember, we don't have a lot of card draw in this deck.
Yeah. And then we were thinking, again, for that digging around through your cards, through your library, Jace, Architect of Thought for 2 and 2 blue. His +1 is until your next turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, it gets -1/-0. Protect yourself a little bit until end of turn. And then you've got -2, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put one pile in your hand and the other on the bottom of your library in any order. So digging through your deck. -8, though, for each player, search that player's library for a non-land card and exile it. Then that player shuffles. You may cast those cards without paying their mana cost. Mm-hmm. That would be good for you to go find something, plus go get something from them too. So just another idea for digging through your deck with that one. So... Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of our tweaks. We didn't have as many tweaks in that one because the deck is pretty good all on its own. And really, you could play it as is, and it's going to do crazy things for you without doing anything. So if you're looking for a precon that you don't have to do much to, but still going to be very powerful at the table, this is the one for you. Thank you so much for watching. We're available, of course, on YouTube and Twitch. Also, feel free to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'd love to hear how you would tweak this deck, or what you would do, or which deck is your favorite. Just reach out to us. We love to talk to anybody and everybody. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime,
tap those magic cards and have fun doing it. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.